down at a table with unfamiliar faces and kick it off looking down at beautiful ace king of clubs in the big blind. Table folds round to the hijack who limps, button and small blind limp as well, and I raise to £15. Only the button calls, so we go out of position to a flop of ace of hearts, three of clubs, queen of diamonds. The board hits our range, I see bet half pot, which I think is pretty standard play, and the button calls. Turn is the seven of clubs, I barrel for £25. He unfortunately folds now. In retrospect, I was probably quite far ahead here and probably could have checked to try get more value on the river, but we play it safe and we move. To picking up two queens in the cutoff. I raise to £20, it folds all the way to the big blind who makes the 3-bet to £60. I'm thinking we are in position with the third best hand in the game, but we are just going to make the call because we don't want to blow her out of the hand. The flop comes 9 of diamonds, 5 of clubs, 2 of diamonds. Now this young lady, who I have very little information on, c-bets for £55. The only thing I thought about in this spot is that the flop missed her range. The only hands that are beating us is aces and kings, so in my mind it's an easy call. The turn comes a 3 of hearts, a complete blank. Whoever was winning on the flop is still probably winning now. She however bets again, this time for £85. I now end up tanking for well over a minute. She seems very strong. I'm thinking, would she take this line with jacks or tens? Is she ever bluffing? I have no idea on what this player plays like and eventually make a reluctant call. River comes the 2 of hearts, another complete blank. She now goes all in. Finally, it becomes clear my queens are no good.
Nice hand.
So I make the fold. I ask her what she had and she, to no surprise, says she had aces. Looking back, I'd say it should have raised more alarm bells when she free betted pre-flop in the big blind against my opening raise, which was well above the standard opening in this game at £20. I think had I paid more attention to that, I could have saved calling on the turn for 85, but hindsight is a wonderful thing. Unfortunately, after the queen's hand, we continue to lose several smaller pots and we are down to about £100 and are looking for spots to get our stack in. Running card dead for well over an hour. We pick up ace 10 off in early position. We raise to £13. We have a stack of about £97 left. It folds to cut off, who calls, and so does the button. 3 ways, flop comes, 7 of clubs, 8 of hearts, 8 of spades. We c-bet for £25. I feel this is definitely larger than it should have been, but the cut folds and the button calls, and just hope he's a non-believer and doesn't have us crushed after this large bet. The turn is the 3 of clubs, completely irrelevant. We decide to continue bet for 50, hoping the opponent either thinks we are bluffing or has an ace with a lower kicker, as any higher kicker than ours should be free betting pre-flop. The opponent does in fact make the call. The river is the 2 of spades. We only have about £40 behind, so go all in with the remaining. But surprisingly the button folds, perhaps chasing a draw that improved on the turn. I'm not sure. Anyway, nice to finally win a half decent sized pot. We captured the next 2 hands in portrait mode in order to also get some footage for our TikTok, which has just started. Feel free to check that out, link will be below. Anyway, I had to include this in the main vlog as we pick up pocket rockets. Under the gun raises to £6, hijack now 3 bets to 20. It folds to me on the big blind. I have around 140 behind. I'm definitely going to 4-bet our position here and decide to just min collective 40, hoping to get at least one caller. Unsurprisingly though, the under the gun folds, but hijack, who is even shorter stacked than myself, goes all in for around £60 more. We of course snap call
for the blog.
Cool.
What do you have?
Really good
I
luck.
have aces.
Oh, come on. One lady. No, never.
No, you never know. Never know.
No. King, one time.
So it ends up being set over set at the end there, but we thankfully hold on and drag in another pot playing short stack.
This is good content.
Before being dealt, we announced to the table that the button will be our last hand. We are back down to a £100 stack, and when we see we have ace jack of clubs in position, we just hope we can end the session on a high. Under the gun raises to £6. Throughout the session, this player has been quite aggressive and also tight, so we suspect he also has a good hand. Folds to me, I free bet to £15.
15.
Under the gun calls and we are heads up. Flop comes 9 for Jack Rainbow. Villain checks to me. I think we have more jacks in our range, so I see bet for half pot at £16. Villain calls. The turn is the 6 of diamonds. I don't think it changes anything. I think we are still ahead. So when Villain checks to us again, I bet £20 for value. However, he calls again. The river is a good one for us. It is the ace of hearts. I only have around a pinky behind. So when Villain puts me all in, I happily snap call and find out we are good. So we double up right at the brink of this session, but still decide to call it quits and hope we can continue this luck tomorrow.
Day 2.
Starting off the second session, not long after having sat down, the first hand to document is 8-7 of clubs. The under the gun £5 straddle is on. It folds to me in the hijack. I just make the call. Big blind calls and the straddler calls, so we are 3 ways to a flop of 6-5-5 with 2 hearts. It checks over to me. We have a gut shot and 2 overs. I decide to bet third pot at £5. and only the straddler calls. The turn is the Jack of Hearts, bringing in the flush draw. I thought this was a good bluffing card for us and bet £10. Villain ends up folding, so for change we make a small bluff, something we want to include more of in our game, and we take this one down. In this next hand, we are in the small blind with the Cowboys. It folds to the cutoff, who raises it up to a juicy £15. Now it's on me. I 3-bet to £45. The cutoff calls and we are 2 ways, and the flop comes 10-2-6 all of hearts. I really want to check here because we dodged the ace on the flop, but we don't have the king of hearts. So feel we need to c-bet for some protection here. In case Villain has a heart, we want to charge him to see a turn. And so for that reason, we bet out £30, but unfortunately, this Villain folds. We pick up another pocket pair in the form of jacks, folds to middle position, who raises to £10. Middle position player was playing quite loosely, so when it folds to us in late position, I decide to 3-bet to £30. Middle position calls and we go heads up to a flop of 5-4-9 with 2 diamonds. He checks to us. I think this is a great flop for us as we have an overpair. So I c-bet for £30, hoping to avoid mainly an ace, king or queen if he calls, which he does. So now onto the turn, which is the 9 of spades, and the board pairs. He checks to us again. I think this is a good turn card, as the only hand that I can think of that might be beating us now in his range are high suited cards with a 9. However, I don't think he has many combos with a 9. I want to charge him in case he has 2 diamonds. I bet £60. He ends up tanking for about a minute and then folds. Let me know what you think of that £60 sizing. Anyway, we drag in a decent sized pot here and move on. Next hand, we look down at 4-3 of diamonds in early position and raise it to £6 because we are feeling lucky. But our image is also quite strong and we want to balance our range. Middle position, late position, and the big blind calls. So we go 4 ways to a flop, which comes 6 of spades, 7 of diamonds, and the 9 of diamonds. We are first to act now, and this board is great. We have a flush, draw, and a gut shot. We end up checking as we are 4 ways. However, I think there could be merit to c-betting here to polarize to be a less straightforward player. Anyway, ends up checking all the way around, and the turn is the ace of diamonds. So now upgraded to a flush, I bet £10 into 3 players, but only late position calls. Perhaps a check call to disguise our strength would have been better here, but the river now comes the Jack of Hearts. I decide to continue betting to £40 now, hoping Villain thinks we are bluffing, but he folds. In retrospect, I think I could have played this hand much better by being less aggressive and disguising the strength of our hand, but we move on. On to the next hand. We are sitting in +1 with ace jack of hearts. Under the gun raised to £7. I decide to free bet to £20 and the under the gun player calls. This is the same player I labelled as loose earlier. We go heads up to a flop of ace king king with 2 clubs. He checks to us, making us think he might be weak. I end up checking back though, as I feel if I bet he's not calling any worse hands other than an ace with a lower kicker, so I check back for a bit of pot control. The turn is the 4 of spades, complete blank. He checks again. I now think I have to bet for information and protection in case he's trying to draw a monster on the river. However, he calls. Now the river is the 10 of hearts. He checks again. My intuition tells me a bet here is not going to be called by many, if any, worse hands, so I just check back. I get told the combination of bad and good news when he flips over king 10 off for a rivered full house.
How many times were you said?
We pick up a beauty in the big blind and have to look at it twice. Under the gun raises to £10 and the middle position player free bets now to 35 and the action is on me. I want to go heads up but have a read that the middle position player could be very strong here as he was playing very tight, only raising premiums. So for that reason I instead take the low variance route and just make the call. It does end up going 3 ways as the undergun calls and the flop comes king to 8 with 2 hearts. What a flop for us. I am first to act and bet 50, hoping to get calls by king queen or 2 heart combos, but unfortunately both players fold and we take this one down. Let me know how you would have played it in this spot. Opponent who free betted pre-flop ended up telling me he had queens. Running hot today, and that run doesn't stop as we pick up pocket aces. We are first to act in under the gun position and raise to £6. +1 and middle position players call, and now the button free bets to £30. Now the action is on me. The button player is a regular. Nonetheless, I decide to 4-bet to £81, hoping to take any other premium holding to Value Town, but unfortunately this move looks too strong and everyone folds. In this next one, 3 players limp before the action is on to us in the small blind. Once again, with the best hand in the game, I decide to raise it up to £20, hoping to go heads up with a stubborn caller, but once again everyone folds and perhaps I need to play these aces with a little less aggression. In the last hand of the vlog, we sit with king queen off in early position and I raise to £6, middle position, late position and big line call. So we go 4 ways to a dreamy flop of queen 3 queen with 2 spades. Checks to us, I decide to check. I had been betting every time I hit prior to this, so I'm thinking this check should help balance my perceived strength. Middle position player bets 17, late position player folds and the big blind calls. Back round to me, I decide to squeeze and bet 50 and only the big blind calls. Turn is now the ace of diamonds. Big blind now checks. I bet about half pot for 65, hoping to get a call from a flush draw, but the big blind folds and that wraps up session 2 where we run really well. Aiming to become a more balanced player, you know, making large bets with both low suit connectors and, you know, the aces, the kings, just mixing it up a little bit more.